From the Nasdaq market site in Times Square, I'm Brad Smith. As part of our ongoing series, Nasdaq Reads, we feature books and written works that exhibit innovation, entrepreneurship, and startup themes that any business can leverage. And joining us for a special discussion today about her latest book titled, and you may want to earmuff the kids for a hot second, Boss Bitch, a simple 12-step plan to take charge of your career. We have New York Times bestselling author Nicole Lapin. Great to have you here, Nicole.
Great to be here, Rob. This is awesome.
All right, and we know you've had a busy day already. We're great to have you here, and we're going to talk about the book for a little bit. But just to kick things off, how do you define we'll call it a boss bee from here on out?
Yeah. So my former self, I was totally clueless of business and money. Like, I wouldn't even know what the Nasdaq is. And it took me a while to become comfortable in my own skin and speak the language of business and finance. I actually was thrown on the floor of the Chicago Merc when I was 18 years old. I knew nothing. I was totally clueless. But I learned the language of money. And I realized it's just a language like anything else. We just don't have a Rosetta Stone. Like, we don't learn this stuff in school. We learn the Pythagorean theorem, but we don't know what these numbers mean. But this is easy stuff. So once you learn it, you can speak the language, you can join the conversation. And so I'm the least likely person to become a financial expert anything. And once I spoke the language to the world, I never imagined that I would be teaching other people. And that's my former self. So my former self was shaken, sweating, breaking out into hives with this whole world. And then I fell in love with it. And being the boss of you means bold, obsessed, self-aware, and strong. I break it down. And self-aware is really important because sometimes it's important to realize your flaws just as it is to realize your strengths.
Absolutely. Now,
don't be delusional about it.
Don't be delusional about it. So, we already love the book title. It's very provocative. Gets you thinking already in the right direction. Catchy. So great job there. What if you already have a job? Right? And you're in this kind of business environment and you want to make your voice more heard. You've got these entrepreneurial ideas and this way of thinking, but you want to bring those to the company, to the forefront, and wherever you work at because you think it can make an impact.
Totally, Brad. Who doesn't want to be more heard? Right. And when people say, I just want a seat at the table, I say, no. You want a voice at the table, and you want that voice to be heard. And I break down Boss Bitch into 3 sections. Being the boss of you, whether that's the CEO of your family or you become a mompreneur, being the boss within a bigger company, so working for the man or the woman, there you go, and then being the boss of your own business. And especially for women, we go through a lot of these different stages in our lives. I think of a career more like a rope swing than a ladder. We could go from working for someone else, which I did, to starting my own business. Maybe I could be the CEO of my family, then maybe I could start another business, or then I could go back to working for someone else. So I think we go through a lot of these permutations in life, and the constant is always you. The constant is always the mentality that you have the confidence to own your destiny and feel that inner boss, no matter where you are.
Now, you mentioned a critical point right there, because there are also the mompreneurs out there that are using some of the great technology to, because they're not in a corporate environment, perhaps, but they still want to access all of the things that they have interests in. They want to kind of build upon that and perhaps become a business person, make that transition from basic to boss, if you will. How do they, too, tap into some of those skill sets? Absolutely.
And I think a lot of moms, when maybe their kids grow up, they want to find their own identity again. So I'm seeing this a lot. And, in the entire country, a lot of millennials are moms, too. And sometimes you forget that, especially here in New York or in bigger cities. And so I think being the boss of you doesn't even need to be starting your own business, doesn't even need to be working. You can be at home and you can run your household like a business. And it's about that mentality that even you should talk like a boss. It's the little things. How many times do we say, I'm sorry during the day? And why are we sorry? What? Right, somebody bumps into us and we're like, I'm sorry. Wait, you didn't do anything wrong. And so I felt like I was going through this I'm sorry epidemic or syndrome. I felt plagued until I actually counted how many times I said sorry during the day. And it was like more than 50.
Oh my God.
And then I realized that even those little things make a world of difference because it was how I carried myself. And so I think thinking about that, no matter where you are, whether you're at home, learning how to say thank you as well. Sometimes when we get a compliment, I'm like, hey Brad, your tie is on point right now. And sometimes you say oh no, this old thing, blah, blah, blah. The answer is thank you. And mosey on.
Thank you.
Right.
I appreciate that. It's making me feel
good. No, thank you.
We're going to have a world full of thank yous after this. But that's so essential, right? Because, it's all about this energy exchange that we give off to as human beings. And the second you can transmit positive energy to somebody else, it only permeates throughout every other situation that takes place throughout your day as well, too.
Yeah, it's talking the talk. And for me, it was putting my money where my mouth is.
Yeah.
So it's about transparency, too. As women, we'll have dinner and we'll talk about everything before we talk about money. And I'm like, what's in your savings accounts, girlfriends? What do you make? And I write down in my book everything I've made along the way. I wrote down how much I made for that book, by the way. I keep it really real because I want to lead by example. I want other people to join this conversation and not be scared like my former self was. So this is really for that girl who was totally clueless and didn't want to have that conversation and didn't have the confidence at that point. But I learned.
Now you've gotten your message out, you've taken it to the world. Let's talk about kind of the global landscape for a second, because I know MasterCard earlier this month came out with their list of, or their index of women entrepreneurs. And the U.S. actually ranked third behind, I believe it was New Zealand and Canada, for best kind of economy or markets to come into as a woman entrepreneur. So what globally needs to take place for us to see more women entrepreneurs out there? What do the markets need to do? What does the economy need to do? What kind of infrastructure needs to be in place so that we could see more women come to the forefront?
It's a great question, and this is obviously really timely and very zeitgeisty, and women are coming together right now.
Yeah.
I wrote an op-ed a couple of weeks ago that talks about the women's movement at large, and my beef with it, shall you say. I love the sentiment, but it hasn't been defined into clear goals. In my book, I talk about clear goals for all aspects of your life, your career, your family goals. Hold yourself accountable. I run my own business. I have to hit numbers. And so for us, I think we need to clarify our goals. And for me, I said 2 women every quarter I'm going to mentor. And so it trickles up from the bottom and it helps on the macro level. So I think we really need to focus on the micro level and what are we doing one-on-one and how are we holding ourselves accountable to help each other. And then that's how we make widespread change.
Absolutely. Now, technology has played kind of a huge role in this, especially when we come back to streams of income that you're able to generate at the end of the day. And this is for any human being, but especially thinking about how if I think about my mother in particular.
Okay, let's talk about Mama.
Let's take Mom Smith, for instance. Hey Mom. This is one instance where I've seen her have a full-time job, have her side job as a photographer.
Totally.
She's done, she has her own Etsy store that she runs. So there are all these different streams that are coming together, and she's utilizing, the Etsys of the world, the eBays of the world, all this technology to really bring her passions to the forefront as well. How are you seeing that technology kind of facilitate to this new rise of entrepreneurs out there?
First of all, bow down to Mama Smith.
She's killing it.
She is killing it.
Yeah.
It's the rope swing idea that we talked about earlier, and a lot of women go through that. And we have tons of passions. We have passions outside our jobs and that we want to explore as well. And so I think the best thing to do for that is to have your side hustle.
Yeah.
And so when you have a 9-to-5 job and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I want to start a cupcake shop one day. Like I bake cupcakes every weekend. I make them for all my
taste
friends.
good. People like
Totally. Drawing cupcakes in my notebook. Like I think about it all day, every day. And so I think sometimes people think a hobby can be a jobby until you try to do it. And then it becomes, I need to do the accounting, I need to source flour, I need to get a commercial kitchen, I need to clean up the mess. When you start your own business, you wear all the hats, you do all the jobs. And sometimes that hobby then becomes not as exciting to you because you have to make money and you have to do all those things that you might not like. So I think it's just as important to realize what you don't want to do as realizing what you do want to do. And you sort of get that out of your system before you burn your corporate bra, so to speak, without having that due diligence.
Absolutely. Now, what advice do you have for individuals who have that entrepreneurial mindset but want to work independently?
So I think, first of all, start with that side hustle. And I think, by the way, if you work anywhere, you can create your own brand, you can create your own niche.
That's very true.
You can make your job your own. I'm not saying go to work, be happy every single day. It's just not real. Obviously, you can tell by now, I keep it really real.
Keep it real.
And that's the only way to do it.
100 is the millennials
Keep it
say.
100. And so, even working for myself, they're not all good days. But if the good days outweigh the bad days, then you're on to something. And I think that's the mentality you have to look at for work. So let's say you work at a film production company, but you're super into music, and so you want to marry those two things. Maybe you start pitching, music videos that you're going to do. Maybe you love traveling, and maybe you say to the company, like, I'm going to go travel and do these music videos. And then you're incorporating your passions under a bigger brand.
Right.
You don't want to, piss off the people that pay you, right?
You don't want to do that.
You want to keep that under their brand,
Yeah.
so you're paying deference to that. But you also want to work on your own brand because that's portable no matter where you go.
Certainly. So, one of the section titles I love from the book, you should absolutely check this out. I noticed you paraphrased modern musical poet, if you will, Jay-Z.
My favorite poet, Jay-Z.
Yep.
Quote him.
Yep. I'm not a businesswoman, I'm a businesswoman.
Right.
So for many people, the question is, how do they make that business viable? And how do they determine that at the end of the day?
So businesses make money.
Yeah.
You have to make money. And so sometimes I think, going back to the definition of boss, sometimes you might be delusional thinking that this is, a business, you're flying the G4, the G5 you see on the cover of Forbes before you even got off the ground.
Yeah.
So it's very sexy to become an entrepreneur, right? And some people think it's really easy. It's not easy, and most companies fail. And so you have to go in with those low expectations. There is one truism, I believe, in all of Wall Street. I think there's two, actually. Buy low, sell high. We're not talking about that right now.
Not today.
And it's better to beat low expectations.
Okay.
So if you have high expectations and you fail, that's a really long fall down.
Right.
If you have low expectations and you beat them, the view is so much more awesome.
Right.
So I think it's about going in realistically and learning and growing and iterating, and give yourself some time and prep a year of savings in the bank. Make sure that your family doesn't need health insurance, because you're probably not going to have all those benefits when you first start. That's not the sexy stuff, but that's the logistical stuff. And if it doesn't work, you have to know when to close it down. That's an important part of being a boss, learning and growing, and also knowing when to say no, knowing when to stop, as much as you know how to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So once you've acquired that boss status, then what?
You can be a boss wherever you are.
Wherever.
It's a mentality more than a title. So you can be the boss within a bigger company.
Yeah.
But guess what? That boss reports to another boss. So let's see these publicly traded companies. I'm the CEO of Ross. I have a board. I have somebody else to report to. Everybody reports to somebody else. And so I think keeping that mentality, no matter where you are, is the key to being successful. And it doesn't matter whether you're in a bigger company or you've started a side hustle like mama, or you've started your own business, or you're just running your household. It's finding that inner confidence that exudes no matter where you are.
Absolutely. Now, where can people get a copy of the book at?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Everybody.
All the places.
All the places.
Amazon.
Right?
Hello, another company probably.
Amazon
up here.
listed on Nasdaq.
Barnes and Noble.
You got it.
Yeah, everywhere. I love
Excellent.
indies too. They're all on my website, NicoleLapin.com.
Excellent.
Check it
Everybody
out.
go check it out. I believe
Thank
she's
you.
tagged in this post too. So
Yes, please.
make
And
sure.
we'll share it. And
Yes.
There's all the love.
Absolutely. All the love just flowing out all throughout the studio. Nicole, great to have you here.
You said fist bump.
The fist bump, boom, made it explode. That's magic right there. Movie camera magic. We're not in the movie, but it feels.
It feels that way.
It's just
He
magic.
looks like a movie star,
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
like a boss.
Like a boss. Well, thank you all of you for watching this special edition of Nasdaq Reads with Nicole Lapin. Make sure to go pick up her new book, and stay tuned for more coming from the Nasdaq market site throughout the rest of the day.
Thanks, guys.